hold on a minute. Okay, so today is, I think it's May 3rd, Sunday, May 3rd, 2026. This is going to be an off-the-wall video, I think. Not sure exactly how I'm going to say things. I'm not exactly sure how things are going to progress in the future around this particular subject. All I know is, all I know is, whatever I've been doing with my videos, or anything that I work on in regards to the foundation and why I even do videos or have been doing videos or whatever, or anything that I've done since 1999, 2000, doesn't change what other people try and import for me to be, for their liking. In other words, my son came here yesterday, for, when the basement got flooded out, right? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. They needed some imagery, my landlords, right, for proof that the basement got flooded out. So I had to backtrack into my videos, right? On the day that happened, which was in November, on November 15th of 2025. And I clipped the parts where it showed the sewage coming up through the hole. But don't forget, I got harassed that day. I got threatened by one of those quote-unquote plumbers to get the hell out and go upstairs, and and even when they were outside, out there in the front in the bloody dark, he was, I'm calling Mrs. Gill, get in your house, close your door, blah, blah. Okay, so whatever, like, do they, I don't know if they like what I did, because it doesn't maybe suit what it is that they need in terms of whatever it is that they're trying to sell to somebody, because I am who I am, and it is what it is. And maybe if that plumber downstairs wouldn't have harassed me, it'd be a better freaking video, but I had to do them in little clips, right? So anyway, the point is, I sent them to Mrs. Gill's daughter-in-law through email, because I had her email from 2020 with all that shit that was going out in the freaking yard in those days. And in those days, they had me outside working with Andre. A lot of those times when I was outside working, I had to bring Andre outside. So Andre was outside with me for hours and hours and hours, right? Because he was just a little kid, right? And, kids weren't always around or whatever. So anyway, okay, so especially like when he was like 4 and 5 years old, like I have videos, people, of me working in the yard with Andre in his little jacket and toque and everything, outside with me as I'm working, doing this and fixing that and just whatever. Okay, so we're not talking about that though, right? All right, so my son comes, takes Andre to a freaking movie, right? And, I guess they contacted him and tried to say that they were having technical issues with the so-called video or whatever that I sent. But no, the video is fine, because it worked for me on my end after I opened it up, after I had it as an attachment, whatever. You just have to download it onto your computer, and then it opens up right onto whatever you use to watch videos with, assuming that you have the right software. So besides that, and it's just a basic MOV, so it's a simple format, right? It's a standard format when it comes to videos, when it comes to video players and that type of thing. So, and then he goes on about, that I think that was just the excuse for him to bring up the subject. He says, well, Mama, I don't know how to say this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, just say it, Marcane. Like, what? Well, remember that video of Mr. Gill's funeral? They want you to take it down because you're accusing him of being a Khalistan racist, separatist, whatever. Well, yeah, Khalistan. He brought up the word Khalistan, saying that I was implying that Mr. Gill was directly connected to that quote-unquote Khalistan group, which is kind of being dubbed as a terrorist group in Canada because they really operate on a separatist type of agenda, to which, well, that's not what I said. And because I brought up the color orange, and when it relates to the turbans, well, what you gonna do? Ask me to take down this video too because I'm talking about a fucking social issue here? Even though it's protected under federal trademark name? Or how about freedom of speech? Okay? There's always two sides of the coin, right? Everybody's got an opinion like a butthole, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, and I'm like, it was, yeah, because the orange turban, you're misleading Mr. Gill in your video to be connected to the Khalistan group or something like that. I'm looking at him, I said, you gotta be kidding me. Like, that's like, talk about nothing in between the ears outside of, they want to manipulate the narrative, people. That's what it is. They want to manipulate the narrative, and they clearly want to hide Mr. Gill like a dirty secret so that they can take total control of whatever it is that they want to take control of, whether it's his poetry and how they present it to the public, all Punjabi washed. I wanted to say whitewashed, right? But they're not white, so they can't whitewash it per se, as they would brownwash it, if there is such a thing. And what the hell does whitewash mean anyway? They can't mold it to, well, they can, and I'm thinking this is what they want to do. If they ever decide to publish his quote-unquote poetry, they're going to market it in such a way that it reaches certain kinds of people in a certain kind of way where it suits their agenda, to which at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. They are a collective group of individuals, whether they have more extremists within the group in terms of, extremism. You have a group of Muslims, and then, so on and so on. And then there's always that little fringe group that's the extremist to one degree. Well, Malcolm X, they could say he was an extremist, right, at one point through the Nation of Islam. Okay, but that didn't mean that all Muslims, quote unquote, were extremists. Well, it's the same thing with the Punjabis, with their Sikhism and their Khalistan and Khalsa and just whatever, okay? So, and because Mr. Gill liked to wear those orange turbans, and he was not 150% in agreement with the total collective in terms of what they preach in these temples, right? He himself said to me he doesn't even go to the temple in the last years of his life because, there was something in there that was rubbing him the wrong way, and he believed more in a superpower where, all religions were equal to each other and nobody was more above than the other, right? You know what I'm saying? To which, a lot of religious groups, doesn't matter if it's Catholic, it doesn't matter if it's Christians, it doesn't matter if it's Muslims, it doesn't matter if it's Punjabis or with their Sikhism or whatever, however, it doesn't matter if it's Hindus with the Hindi religion, right? You know what I'm saying? They all at some point in their minds are convinced that theirs is the legitimate religion with the legitimate and only one spiritual, as in a quote-unquote God, right, entity that's legitimate. Mr. Gill didn't come to me talking about Punjabis and Sikhism, whether on an extreme level or on a mild, just whatever, was the ultimate religion of all religions. That's not what he said to me. But just with them trying to manipulate the narrative by getting Marcane to do their dirty work for them so that pit one against the other. As soon as he came to me and he said this to me, and he spit it out, right? Well, you need to take down the video because they're all upset because you're making Mr. Gill look like he's a terrorist with an orange turban on, because somehow they think that I said that he was connected to a Palestine freaking organization. Yeah, right. That's not what I said. But I took down the video so you'll never hear it. Right? Or was it because I took a picture? When I came in and I walked up to the table and there was pictures there for the public to go into in my mind, a public freaking funeral. Since when, if you wanted it to be private, you shouldn't have invited me. Right? Why you have such a big building for such a private freaking funeral? Why do you need all this bravado? Why do you need all this bravado? You know, echoing halls and, you know, and 500 people so you can gather up the body and then run off to the temple and what? Call that private with another 1,000 people in the temple? Yeah, okay, that's a real private freaking funeral. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you know, and like, you know, you take down the video with Andre participating in that. And, you know, let me tell you something. After it was all said and done and it was over with, and I talked to Andre about it, and just with the crap that's been going on and the way I've been treated and all this shit, right? You know, Andre said it kind of felt like it was like an occult, the way the whole thing was set up and ran. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it kind of felt like that, because when we were inside and they were, you know, doing whatever, you know, they started as a group chanting as a group. And like, you know, Andre's not familiar with that, right? So it was a new experience for him. So whatever they think that they're doing, you know, I mean, they're just, in my mind, they're just trying to stamp home more fear into people who are not like them. You know, and the more you can stamp that fear into them when they're young and make it permanent so that they become that permanent underclass, well, that's what they're going to do. Take down the video. We're insulted that you accused Mr. Gill of being a, I don't know, something, because of his orange turban. And I put in the description link, you know, what it means, right, in terms of being a warrior. And I was specific. The next video, I'm not taking down any more videos. And I'm going to backtrack, and I'm going to clip out myself walking in the parking lot. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And I will delete, maybe I'll put that echoing hall in there, you know, so it echoes. It goes out into the, what is that, urethra, out into the abyss, where maybe Mr. Gill is looking down upon us up there, you know, with his superpowers, and he could just tweak a few things to straighten, to iron out this bullcrap. Because as far as I'm concerned, what they've done in my mind is they've put him in a freaking tomb. They've entombed him in a way that is kind of like, you know, when you have an evil genie, right? Or a mummy that's evil, and you want to entomb them so they can never get out to protect the planet. That's what, in my mind, they've done to Mr. Gill by asking me to take down my video. Now, I'm entitled to my opinion. And whether they like my opinion or not, that's their problem. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, Mr. Gill always told me for years and years, over the years, you know, Judy, I sit at the table, there's 12 of us, and I'm the only one that fights for you. Everybody else wants me to get rid of you. Why? Because they wanted more money on the rent. That's why, people. And he always fought against that. He wouldn't have said that time after time after time if it wasn't true. As a matter of fact, I probably got it on recording somewhere. One day I'll go through the recordings that I have. Because not every recording I have up online. And I'll find it and I'll post it. And what are they going to say? Oh, you got to take it down because Mr. Gill said this about us? Yeah, that's what he said about you. And you know what? He was right about it, because the minute he was dead, not even a week later, you guys came out of the freaking woodwork and you've been terrorizing me ever since. And don't get mad at me that I talk about it on freaking YouTube, because it ain't nothing new. I've been doing this shit before I even moved into this house. Only in those days, I was more proactive to work on children's programs and lunch programs and snack programs and community gardens and, you know, and that kind of stuff, right? I wasn't being harassed like I'm being harassed, like I've been harassed over the last freaking, I don't know how many years. Pretty much ever since I moved in here. And it started with the yard. That's what it did. It started with the freaking yard. And I call it for exactly what it is. It's the plantation, bottom freaking line. Yeah, and anytime you got a plantation, what do? You get the freaking masters. And where do all the masters hang out? At the temple. At the temple. And the one that doesn't want to be a master, show some leadership outside of what is expected of him in terms of the nice and tidy, neat narrative that you can sell to the public to protect what? Your assets, not other people's assets, because everybody else's assets, like mine, are garbage. Throw it out. Throw out everything. You are not allowed to have assets. We are the only ones that are allowed to have assets because we say so. And then throw out your video, too. No, it's on private. I said, fine, no problem. But you know what? Mrs. Gill's got a headache? Yeah, right. I got a headache. 4 days now. And I'm taking Tylenol. It ain't working. So, okay. And then I start thinking about Mr. Blue Shoes. Because when I went to get the video, right? He goes, well, it's already partly blocked, Mom. I said, the only reason it's partly blocked in some countries is because of the African music. Because I went to Mr. Gill's funeral, did whatever, and then I went when they dropped me off, I just went next door and I hung out there for a little bit, just to chill, right? And that's when I, was recording Mr. Blue Shoes. And I'm like, so they wiped out Mr. Blue Shoes. They don't have a right to wipe out Mr. Blue Shoes. No. So it's a competition between orange turbans and blue shoes. So I'm like, okay, Judy, because I'm like, stay quiet on it. Don't say nothing. Just give them what they want, and maybe they'll just back off. But they're not going to back off. Fuck no. No, because each time they come and say something to me, they're always threatening me with something or threatening me with somebody. I don't know what the hell they expect from me. Outside of being a damn slave, working themselves right into the ground in those freaking rice fields, at the sugarcane plantation, and that's just a fact. Okay, because they're not the ones out there working or doing anything. They want me to go outside and do this and do that with no equipment. I don't have a freaking weed whacker. I don't have an extension cord. I don't have a rake. That went out in the freaking bin. In January. It disappeared. It got robbed. I don't know where it is. Right? Whatever. Okay. So, I'm going to go backtrack and I'm going to put it on this video. Me walking in the parking lot, which is a public space, talking about whatever I was talking about. Forget the echoing hall, because it's private property. That's where they have their private freaking funerals. 500 at a time coming in. 250 at a time. And that's private. Yeah, okay. I told you it was once in a lifetime. And what did they do? They buried it like a damn dirty secret. That's what they did. And they made it a bad experience for Andre. Yeah, gotta keep that thumb on little Andre. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Wouldn't want any controversy around Mr. Gill. Not that there was any controversy around him, because there's only two Punjabi men in all my life that I've met that have my respect, and that would be Iqbal Wally. Okay? And what did that temple do for him? They expelled him. Because he didn't completely conform with bending over and kissing their asses. Yeah, that's what happened there. Yeah. But he stood up for something. He stood up for me and the kids and Uncle John, and he stood up for the foundation more than anything else. He stood up for the foundation. He took me right into their freaking board director's room in that temple on 72nd Street. And there was like, I don't know how many of them were in there, 10, 11 of them, all beady-eyed with their freaking white beards and their turbans, and they were glaring at me with Wally holding the envelope as proud as he could be, saying, you need to read this, right? Help this girl with this foundation. It's important. And they sent him away, people. And you know what? After what the government did to me in 2023 and ran me out of the house because they cut me off of welfare illegally, I left. And you know what Pam, Wally's wife, said after we ran into them a few years later? Because Wally ended up having an aneurysm, right? And she had to look after him, and his kids have to look after him. But she said that once we left that house, their life fell apart. Their life fell apart. And I can guarantee you the temple wasn't there for Wally. Nope. And Mr. Gill, because he stood for something. He tried to. He tried to stand for something. And what did they do? They locked him in a tomb, like an evil genie. Only he's not evil. They gotta hide him away like a dirty secret. Only he's not a dirty secret. So I am going to remove what's on the inside of that so-called funeral home. I'm gonna add it in to this video with the next door, with the Mr. Blue Shoes. Yeah, because we're not sure what Mr. Blue Shoes is going to be up to yet in the future when things maybe work themselves out. But it is my firm belief, through my experiences, whether these people like it or not, that the only reason there's such a huge disparity, well, I have to say British Columbia, Canada, but it's going right across Canada, right? Over the last 10 years, it's gotten really bad because of the numbers of immigrants coming in with their backwards thinking. And they want to call me racist. Read my Constitution. Tell me in there anywhere where it suggests that I'm a racist person. I'm not. I'm the minority that is being attacked by racists. And not only do I have to deal with the racism on an individual level, but I have to deal with the racism on an institutional level through that temple and what they preach in the temples and how they proceed to run their good business practices within the general population and how they exploit the commodity. Okay? That's not, none of that shit's going to change. The only thing that's changed now is I need to now do some research in my spare time, not like I have a lot of spare time, right? And you know, educate myself more somehow, some way around what racism, I suppose, really means in a grander, or I don't know. You want to accuse me of being a racist? I don't stalk your yard. I don't send people to your yard, to your houses, just to throw your shit around, to grab and take your shit, to poke things, to move things so I can come and take a picture so I can falsely accuse you of something. I don't just drop in when I want and pick a fight, and I don't threaten outside of, well, if you got me in a corner, don't expect me not to fight back. Right? I'll find a way. I don't expect to win because I'm up against, in my mind, a criminal organization that has the blessing of the federal government because, you know, they hold a fair amount of wealth, and with wealth comes corruption, and that's what makes it criminal, because with wealth comes, right? And so illegal organ harvesting, none of that's changed. Just because I took down one video, none of that has changed. When Shimei died and Mrs. and Mr. Gill came and asked me what they could do to help me, I said, help me get a lawyer for what happened to Shimei with the cover-up of her murder and illegal organ harvesting. They said no. Well, of course they would say no, because they'd be expelled from the temple. That's why. They'd be expelled. If they stood up against that, yeah, they'd be expelled. You can get a lawyer to kick me out at my most vulnerable after you used and abused me for years, and then you want to change up the I got photocopies, printed photocopies from back in the day. I just have to find them where I can prove that you were advertising the sheds, the garden beds, and yada yada. And now all of a sudden you don't want them because you want to put yourselves into a position of being a victim so that if it goes to court, you can win? Okay, yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't care about winning. I care about the principle, right? So yeah, I'm going to go backtrack, and I'm going to just turn on the computer, and I'm going to record me walking in the freaking whatever that thing is called, parking lot. And as soon as we get to the door, I'm going to turn off the camera, hide Mr. Gill like a damn dirty secret. He can go hang out with Uncle John at the clubhouse. Yeah, 2 dirty secrets, plotting and scheming how to come back to Earth and put everybody into check. And then I'm going to put Mr. Blue Shoes back online. Yeah, the original Mr. Blue Shoes. What makes an original? What makes an original? They're making me take down a video where the original Mr. Blue Shoes is being silenced. Yeah. Well, who is he? Well, what does it matter who he is? The point is that he exists, right? And he has a right to have his steps heard. You know, he walking in his own shoes. Nobody has a right to silence that, right? So anyway, there you go. Mr. Gill hidden away like a dirty secret. All over an orange turban. And that's what they fight for. That's their fight. Yeah. That's their fight. Okay, so now we're at the private funeral. It's either their way or no way. If you don't conform, you get expelled. You get deleted. You get removed. You get hidden away like a dirty secret. You get buried in a tomb and treated like an evil genie so that you can never get out and really have a voice outside of what your masters want to portray to the public if and when that time should ever come outside of you're stuck. Okay, forget about that superpower crap when you're buried in a tomb so deep down with tons of this and tons of that encased around it. Well, you'll never escape. Forget, Mr. Gill, just forget whatever you were thinking, because as soon as you were done doing whatever they were doing with your body here, they zipped you off to the temple. Mrs. Gill said, "No, we're all going to the temple now." So there you go. There's your private funeral, from one spot to the other spot. So this is me walking in a public freaking parking lot, going to a funeral to somebody that I actually cared about and held to high esteem, that he was, well, in a nutshell, walking in his own shoes, trying to be an independent thinker and not get caught up with the quote-unquote crowd, and be part of the problem, versus he was trying to be part of the solution within the realm of what he was able to do. Okay.
Doing with my son, watching you. Look at all these cars.
Now, Mr. and Mrs. Gill, they did come to Shimei's funeral, to which was just basically music. Because it was a celebration of life, and she wanted me to start up with park events and do kids programs and do those little gigs outside of businesses and whatnot. So that's how that all came about, because I just kind of gave her what she wanted to show her that I would at least try. But of course you can't do that kind of stuff much in Canada, because the country itself and the province itself is very oppressive by the so-called minority group. Okay, this is not a minority group, people. This is the majority. All right.
See all these cars?
And every day the majority is getting bigger and bigger, while the Canadian-born people die, because there is an undertone of genocide. And that's the part that these people who are supposedly watching my videos want to ignore and deny. Because there's too much money involved in body parts and exploiting people when it comes to rent gouging and working them like slaves, and or whatever. And they do it within their own people as well, you know. It's not just other ethnic groups that they exploit. They also exploit their own under that quote-unquote caste system.
What is the date today? What is the date today? What is the date today? What is that? Huh? March 15th, 2026. Mr. Gill's funeral. Yeah. Mr. Gill's funeral. This building can fit 500 people. 300 on one side and 200 on another. Here, put this on me. My son is...
Maybe they didn't like the fact that I didn't look like a damn dirty farmer that was all covered in mud, huh? Maybe that's what they don't like. They like it better when I'm covered in mud, all stressed out, scratched up and bruised. Yeah. Without a pitchfork in my hand, or a rake, or anything. Get back on your knees, bitch. Squat and de-weed the yard, little by little, surely by surely, day after day, 12 hours a day, under the blaring sun, pouring rain, freezing cold, doesn't matter, mud, rain, whatever.
He's not coming.
Well, he's pouting in the car. He's saying, I'm being disrespectful.
Yeah, they're saying I'm being disrespectful. Okay, I'm not the one that's burying him like a damn dirty secret in a tomb that he'll never escape from. They are. Unless, of course, they want to market his poetry to their advantage, and only to their advantage, and nothing more than to their advantage, in terms of they will edit out what they don't want the public to read, because it might be too going against the grain of whatever it is that they preach in their freaking private temples, even though they like to say it's public. Oh, I'm so mad, man. after I hung up on that, I was thinking, if Wally and I, Ichabod Ball, would have went to a Catholic church and sat down and talked to the priest, or a room of priests, or if we would have went to some Christian church or something and went into their little boardroom, I don't think they would have. What I'm trying to say is, I think they would have taken the paperwork and politely said, well, we'll look it over and we'll get back to you. Versus just scowl and frown and browbeat you down and say, go away, we're not interested. Like they did at the temple with Wally. And then they proceeded to expel him because he wasn't living up to whatever expectations that they put in front of him. Right? I'm just saying. So, public funeral in a public building, basically, although they'll say it's private because it's owned by them, whatever. So hold on.
For doing a video when it's an open funeral in public.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a man who said to me that he believes in a superpower.
Yeah.
Where
well, they're trying to control the superpower now. They're trying to, it's so super, so powerful, that they gotta put it in a freaking tomb, bury it 10,000 feet down deep into the ground, encase it with a bunch of cement and a bunch of freaking marble and limestone and more cement and, make it so that it's completely encased where nothing can escape. Unless, of course, they want it to, control it. They want to control it, people. So before they'd allow anything to escape and let it form for itself and be free and be a superpower, they're gonna control it. They're gonna control the narrative. They're gonna edit out what they want to edit out. And if they can't get it through asking, I guess, nicely, take down the video. It's private, he shouldn't be talking about orange turbans. Okay, I only dreamed of him sitting beside me with an orange turban on, for crying out loud. What you gonna tell me? I can't talk about my dreams now? Is that it?
Everybody is equal when it comes to the Muslims, the Punjabi.
Is that the part that they don't like me saying? That he acknowledged openly that everybody is equal?
The Christians, so on and so on, right?
There's people coming behind you, by the way.
What's that?
There's people coming behind you, okay? Just give me a heads up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to not
So
get
what?
no license plate.
Did Mr. Gill know all these people? Because if he did, he knew a lot of people. Is that, too low or something? Are you paying attention?
I'm just trying not to get no one's license plate. YouTube does not like license plates.
Nobody looking at nobody's license plate. So my son is mad because he's saying that this is content.
Yeah, and they're using my son to pit one against. As soon as he came in and he started saying yada yada yada, I said, oh, okay, pit one against the other, Andre Marcane. They now got you mad at me because they're egging you on with this yada yada, that somehow I'm this fucking national threat by saying something that clearly I didn't say. They took it out of context. They imported it to put themselves into a victim position so that I guess they can continue to build their case. I don't know what they're going to bring it up in court, that I talked about Mr. Gill on a video, how he believed in a superpower and that he thought that all people should be treated equal versus like some people like slaves. Like the reason why I'm in court right now, because I'm tired of being treated like a fucking slave, and before I die I'd like to fight back as best as I can, even though I know I'll never win, because I'm up against a freaking corrupt freaking religion in my opinion, and that's just the bottom fucking line. I'm sorry. I've proven with my last video that it's not illegal to have things in your yard, but for whatever strange reason, it's illegal for me to have things in my yard only because somebody doesn't want me to have it in my yard, because it's just, you know, takes away from the eviction process when it comes to being done on the cheapest of the cheap, I suppose, outside of psychological warfare. And, you know, you're allowed to have barbecue in the backyard, right? You know what I'm saying? My neighbors in the alley next to me over here, they have their little fire pit going, and, you know, they're little bonfires that they have their little barbecues on, and, you know, they right? My other neighbor in the back, over down, Sandy, down a few doors down, has tons of flower pots all over the place, and she has this in the backyard and that, and the one across the street has things in their yard and flower pots and little gazebos and all this little sheds and all this other crap. People can have those things, right? You know what I'm saying? But not me. No, I get people coming into my yard moving wood from my garage so they can put it outside and then take a picture of it and then say that I put it there, right? Just right, and then come back and do it again and again and again, right? Yeah, okay. Why? So you can get $4,800 a month? By the time you get rid of me, $5,000 a month? Yeah, okay.
No, this is part of our story.
Yeah, my story. I don't write the story. I just tell it. I just tell it the way I see it, how I experience it, what my family goes through, the loss around it. You know, the injustice around it, the ongoing aspect of gang stalking around it.
I want you to look at this. This is a lot of wealth here.
Yeah, a lot of wealth. How do you think they got that wealth? You know what? Pit one against the other. You got my son mad at me now. And for what? Because at the end of the day, the only reason that wealth is there is because there's a reason why it's called, there's such a saying, it's called slum landlords. When I was a kid, what do you think was around? Slum landlords. And a lot of that hasn't changed. It's still the same. Because if you notice, the wealth is condensed. The wealth is condensed. This building that I went to condenses the wealth to one particular group of individuals that like to bury dirty secrets that aren't dirty, but they will make them dirty just in order to keep the wealth in their pocket, to control the narrative.
Because the next video will be content. This is documenting the stuff that goes on.
Yeah, this is documenting the stuff that goes on in my life. Mrs. Gill, I have a headache. Well, I've had a headache 4 freaking days. I'm taking Tylenol every day, as if that's good for my body. In my family's life. I'm wondering what's going to come next in terms of that gang stalking activity, or I'm going to be threatened with this or threatened with that, or I'm going to go outside and find something that doesn't belong there and then be accused that I put it there on purpose and that somehow I'm the one that's being negligent, as I'm being expected to get onto my hands and knees with a freaking butter knife and dig out freaking morning glory roots and all this other stupid shit because I'm being told I shouldn't go out and buy anything to do extreme yard maintenance with when it comes to this yard and weeds and all this. In other words, don't go buy a weed whacker, don't buy an extension cord, don't go buy a rake, don't buy picks, don't buy anything, because why? Why don't you want me to buy anything? But yet you expect me to go out there and work like a damn dirty dog for 8 to 10 hours a day with my grandson, I guess outside with me or inside, I don't know. Well, everything else around me falls apart. And if I don't do it, in comes the lawyer. Yeah, okay. Like I said, I think Mr. Gill is rolling around in his grave. I really do. Oh, sorry, he's not in a grave. He's in a tomb, buried at 10,000 feet down into the ground, encased with so much shit around the tomb that he'll never escape.
To which Mr. Gill played a major role over the last 15 years with the take it as is, the house.
Yeah.
I'll never raise the rent.
Yeah.
And stay as long as you want.
Yeah. And for what?
As he fought to keep his word, basically.
Yeah, and who did he fight? His family. Look at my eyes. Take a good look at my eyes. Do I look like I'm lying? Or do I look like I'm sorrowful? SORROWFUL. Sorrowful. Do I look like I'm lying? Or do I look like I'm sorrowful? As if I like to say those things. But that's just the reality of it. Because he made sure he let me know what he was fighting against. And he wasn't fighting against himself. He was fighting against his family. And his religion. That molded his family to be the way they are. So that they could hold the wealth.
And now he's gone. So what do you think that makes me feel like?
Depressed?
Yeah, it does.
Depressed?
It does.
Sadness?
Yeah, and it puts my family at even more risk considering the politics in this province.
Yeah, it puts my family at more risk. Look at my eyes. Where's my eyes? Do I not look fearful? Do they not look fearful to you? Yeah. Everything a slave master likes. Right?
And if my son can't fucking deal with his mother being a quote-unquote community activist, somebody that's got something to say around this town, that's his problem, not my problem.
But you see, they won't leave him alone. They keep drawing him in so that he'll become that gorilla pimp and be abusive towards me. Because it's just another hit, another blindside, another left hook, just another means to take me out, wear me down, shut me up, silence me, deplete me, whatever. Right? Nothing to uplift, that's for sure.
But, you know, at the end of the day, how is it Mr. Gill can generate 500 people at a funeral?
Well, whatever he generates in the future, regardless of whatever turban they put on his head, when they want to market him, right, in terms of color, if they ever decide to market him when it comes to his poetry or anything, right? I mean, they might just want to keep him silent forever. Who knows? I don't know. Or maybe they'll just be shady and rewrite whatever he wrote and say he wrote it just so they can still market him and get richer. I don't know. When people are desperate, want money and whatever it is they're looking for, they do strange things. So who knows, right? The point is they're controlling the narrative, and whatever he was thinking.
When he said he never went to the temple.
Am I lying? Why would he tell me he wasn't going to the temple? That he hadn't been to the temple he didn't want to go? Why? Why would he tell me that? All right? I'm sure he went many, many times. He probably went in the last few years of his life here and there, but it wasn't like being a zealot about it. It wasn't any place he really wanted to be, right? There was no reason for him to lie to me. He had no reason to lie to me. Is that what they don't like about this video? Is that the part that they don't like?
And next video I do have...
That doesn't mean that he's not a Sikh, or he doesn't believe in whatever it is that they believe in as a core ideology. It just means that he didn't want to be enslaved by it. That's where the superpower came in. That's where all people were equal or came in. But that's not what we're dealing with in the real world when you're dealing with people in general, right?
This one, I'm going to do a video response with people in the downtown east side, as well as other parts of freaking British Columbia.
Yeah, poverty, right? Use poverty as a comparison. That's where the downtown east side came in, right? You've got disparity where you've got I guess the funeral was invitation by only by invitation. You were only allowed to go to the funeral unless, of course, you were invited. That was it. And the only reason I was there is because he wanted me there. So I guess in that little small way, they because he called for me, I guess, when he was like dying or something. He was calling out for me at some point. That's what I was told. Now, whether they admit to that again or they deny it, I don't know. All I know is that I didn't invite myself in there. They invited me in there. Okay? And they all seen me with the camera, right? You know what I'm saying? So they want Mark Cain mad at me, right? They want us fighting. They want to put themselves in a victim position, use Mr. Gill as the means to say that I'm picking on them and I'm false representing them, which is not true. That's not what I've done. I've only pointed out the discrepancies, you know, within their religion when it comes to the extremists through the Palestine and whatnot, right? Just because the Catholic Church has priests where some of those priests molest boys doesn't mean that all priests molest boys, right? Well, it would be the same thing with the Punjabis. Just because you got the Punjabi Sikhs where some of them are more extremist than others doesn't mean that they're all extremists. However, just with the beehive mentality that they operate under and through their wealth building techniques, and yes, they are racist as a collective group, that has been a problem with them since the beginning of time. They don't like to intermingle outside of maybe doing commerce, right? You know, if you go to a park, right, they're over there with their group of like-minded individuals, while somebody else is over there with their like-minded individuals, but they don't really intermingle, right? Because that's not what it's about.
Canada, where women, vulnerable women and men are being kidnapped off the streets because of lack of affordable housing.
So you see, you can't silence me on this kind of stuff. No, because it's happening, it's real. It's happened to my own family through illegal organ harvesting with the cover-up of Shemai's murder. Yada-de-ya, Sierra, lured to her death, murdered. her organs illegally harvested, right? It was a Punjabi doctor with a turban on. Don't ask me what color he was wearing because I don't remember now. Can't put no color to his turban, but he was definitely wearing a turban. And he's the one that committed the heinous crime, right, at the expense of exploiting taxpayers' dollars to do it, to which only benefits the elite within the quote-unquote temple of the Punjabi religion, because they're the ones that can afford to buy these organs on demand, being that we do live in a slave state, and people below a certain income level are categorized by their worth in terms of, well, you know, if you got a prime buck, right, you know, in good health, and they die, well, the organs are going to sell. They're primo organs. You're going to get primo price compared to a 79-year-old skinny, shriveled up individual where they have health issues where those organs are maybe not as viable. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So is this why they want me to take down this video? Because I'm talking about issues that are important in the real world when it comes to social development in our society, and how some people don't have to worry about the things that I'm talking about right here, where other people have to worry about every freaking day. And not only do we have to worry about it every freaking day, but we're being flushed out of our houses through unscrupulous freaking predatory behavior, through these unscrupulous landlords that know that they can do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and by the time that everything's all said and done, good luck catching up to them and holding them to account in court, because the whole court system itself, in many times, is corrupt, and a lot of these lawyers and freaking judges and yada yada are all bought and paid for, and by that time, even if you can get it to that point, chances are you yourself will be dead, and if you won't be dead as the victim, it will be another 1 or 2 or 3 in your family who will be dead. Well, what you see in the background, well, the buildings just get bigger, there's more cars, more people, you know, participating in with the right, with the collective agenda to accumulate wealth for just a few. And that's what makes them a separatist group, whether they're directly related to the Palestine aspect of it, or they're just a simple separatist group, period, that is antisocial. Except for when they want something, then they'll be happy and smile in your face and act like they're your friend. Now, good business, right? You buy a box of something from me, and you give me the money that I want. If I want $10 for the box, and you only want to give me 9, to hell with you. Get out of here. But if you give me 11, I'll even be happier. But at least give me the 10. And the next time you come, if they say give you 12, you better be prepared to give them 12, because if you don't give them 12, they're not gonna like you no more. That's what I mean by good business. Keep up with the good business. Give them what they want, and they'll be happy. As soon as you say, no, enough is enough. You can't work me like a dog no more. You can't use me like a dog no more. Forget the dog. You can't work me like a slave no more. You can't use me like a slave no more. Yeah, sure, you can run me out of the house and make me homeless in my own country, but don't expect me not to come back and say something about it.
Just everything that centers around that. Being kicked out of your housing.
But
So
they don't like that. Is that why they wanted the video down? Did they honestly think they're going to get me to stop talking about racism and who's racist and about institutional racism? When I wrote the Constitution back in the day, okay, you know, and I right, thinking about racism, and I'm going to read the Constitution, maybe not on this video, but I'm going to take time to read the Constitution. And you know what? If anything, because I wrote the word African, I'm telling you people, I've been doing this for a long time. I wrote the word African, right? Something to do with the African continent, that we're all one people with that superpower, right? You know what I'm saying? And with that, I ended up putting in, I don't know what they're called, sections within the Constitution where I wrote in protection for the individual ethnic groups, in my mind at the time, right? Protection so that, you know, if you have a charity, right, and you're gonna give away something, you're gonna do something for somebody, right, or somebody's more than one, right, and you've got 1,000 people, right, and everybody shows up early in the morning. You're gonna give out, you know, we'll say, I don't know, 500 boxes. 500 boxes out of 1,000 people, 800 boxes of something to 800 people, only 1,000 show up. 1,000 show up. This is very rudimentary, right? You know, and out of that 1,000 people, and you only got 800 boxes, 700 of them are Punjabi, and the other 300 individuals are from different ethnic groups, regardless of what those groups are. Could be Chinese, could be South Korean, it could be freaking Irish, it could be Native, could be anything, right? Anybody, could be an African, could be anybody, could be a Jamaican, whatever. The point is you've got 700 Punjabis standing in line that started to get there real early. So by the time you give them all a box, that doesn't leave much for anybody else, right, in terms of what's left. So through the Constitution, when it came to like making money, right, and then taking that money and distributing it into the different charities that were in the area that catered to different ethnic groups, because that's usually how it works, right, outside of maybe a cat rescue or something. You can't really discriminate against cats, but you can discriminate against people through the various charities by saying that, you know, we are a Christian organization and we only help Christian people per se. Not to say that they would turn anybody away, but before they go out of their way to help somebody that's not like them, they'd be more apt to help somebody that's like them. And that just goes through the whole thing, right? You know, like a youth program, you know, they have a lot of programs that are just centered around quote unquote Punjabi youth because, you know, they have their issues too sometimes, so, or Native youth or whatever, okay? So I tried to write in safety nets where if we had $100,000 to give away to different ethnic groups, well, to different charities that were catering to different ethnic groups, because that's usually how it works when dealing with a charity, right? Money would be dispersed kind of equally between the different ethnic groups so that no group would be left behind. If I was a racist, I wouldn't even attempted to try and solve that problem, because it's a problem. This is the problem, and this is the problem with the Punjabis. They hold all the wealth and they tend to keep it to themselves. And when they do give to charity, they would give it to a children's hospital, make it generic, quote unquote, so they say. So that they say that they're giving to all, but at the end of the day, the only ones that are benefiting from the children's hospital when it comes to illegal organ harvesting, when it comes from taking organs from children and selling them on the black market like they're doing with the adults out here, who do you think's benefiting the most? The ones that can pay for it. And who can afford to pay for it? Well, the ones that hold the wealth. In those days, back in 1999 and 2000 and 2001, I wasn't thinking about illegal organ harvesting. I didn't understand the depth of the corruption within our communities as to how deep it can really go and who controls the politics, yada yeah. So, you know, like, yeah.
That you become victimized twice and exploited, used and abused until there's nothing left. While others prosper. But there's a cost.
Yeah, so Don't worry about it. Just get the hell out, and the government will take care of you. And being that they can't take care of the problem, you'll just end up out on the streets. But that's your problem because you made bad choices in life. And your skin is white, and therefore it doesn't really matter because you're paying for the sins of your forefathers. I've already been told that by a Punjabi that came to my door and said it straight to my face. So, you know, like, don't throw racism at me. I don't think so. To
that prosperity.
I'm not the one that's kicking people out onto the freaking streets, right? Treating them like roadkill. Right? I don't go out of my way to terrorize them and stalk them and threaten them and continuously stalk them and threaten them and terrorize them until I can get what I want and then just drive by and act like that person deserved to get treated the way they got treated and end up to become roadkill, some flat pancake on a freaking highway. Like, come on. That's not my style. That's their style, and that's the way it is. Was that Mr. Gill's style? Well, obviously not. He tried to hold back the freaking wolves. Is that what they don't like? That I freaking stand up for him and I remind them that's what he did? Right? He had no reason to lie to me. Right? And now that he's not here, what? Send in the lawyer? Yeah, okay. Send in the bins? Okay. What? Do you have a jail cell all figured out for me? Got me all ready to go in there, handcuffed and shackled and everything, and for what? So you can get richer and entomb Mr. Gill into the 10,000 feet deep into bedrock and everything else that you cemented around him so he'll never escape, unless, of course, you want to control the narrative, and only for yourself, and so that you can have your private funerals and caress each other as to how wealthy you are, because you can see it with your eyes and you can touch it with your fingers, but when you really look at it, what does it represent? It's soulless. It's soulless. It's written right into the doctrine. You don't even believe in God, so what the hell? I have asked strange Punjabis, men, right, walking down the road in the past, out and about, and I say, excuse me, can you answer me a question, honestly, please? Because I need to hear from you, right? The truth. I said, do you believe in God? No. I said, well, what happens to you when you die? Well, that's it. We're dead. It's done. Never come back. Don't wake up. It's over. But yet you go to the funeral, and the way they were carrying on at that funeral, it kind of makes you wonder. Because I said in another video, I didn't say it in this video, where, you know, it's almost like they're at war with themselves. You know, you say one thing in writing, right? You say one thing, yap, 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 yap. But when the rubber meets the road, and the soul is actually now somewhere else, that's where the questions come in. That's where the doubt comes in. That's where their own internal freaking fears come in, where they have an inkling of hope that they're somewhere else versus it's a nothing no more. But by having a nothing after the fact of death allows them to do what they do today in a waking moment with no remorse, because it's quote unquote good business. And they see themselves as the superior entity above everybody else. And that's why Mr. Gill didn't go to the temple as much as he probably was expected to go. I'm not saying he didn't go. He just didn't agree with everything that they had to say. And for that he's being punished through me, as they use Marcane again as a tool to do their dirty work, because they're butthurt, so that they can continue doing what they do without being held to account and to justify their own bad behavior. And that's saying it in a mild way. Okay? I'm not safe here, people. Tell me how I'm safe.
And
If they're so morally correct, how the hell can I not be safe?
that's why I'm doing this video.
Look at my eyes. You think it's easy for me to talk about this stupid crap? No. It just brings out more gang stalkers. That's all it does. Because they pat each other on the back saying, you go, scare the bitch some more, scare her, knock her out. And if you don't knock her out, so-and-so will knock her out, and then I'll come in behind and really knock her out. We're right back to that shit again. And if they could get my son to knock me out, they would do that too.
Yeah, to remind people that they're not off the hook.
Yeah, you're not off the hook. You put Mr. Gill in a freaking tomb 10,000 feet deep into bedrock as you cemented it in, marbled him in, blockade him in, whatever you did. You made it so much so that it's dead air and it's like being mummified where the mummy can never escape. But yet you're going to get rich off of the mummy because you're going to write a story around it. Yeah, you're going to market the story. Market the parts of it that you want to market. You can get rich. And then say he was such a good guy. But yet you don't even let him shine in the light. Yeah, okay. You hid him away like a dirty secret. Just another Uncle John in an Iqbal ball. That's all that is. And I'm entitled to my opinion.
Well, anyway, let's just walk.
You want me to turn it off?
No.
Say battery?
So I dressed up for Mr. Gill.
Yeah, is that the part that they didn't like?
Oh, how long is he beautiful? No.
Huh? Is that the part they didn't like? Wasn't looking like a damn farmer?
There's your content. Yeah. Right? You can turn it off. Well, no, he wants to sit and pout. Fuck him.
I can maybe get him over here.
No, leave him alone. Let him pout. He wants to be rude, he can pout.
Yeah, you see, they don't want him pouting. They want him mad. They want him mad, and they want him attacking me, verbally attacking me, threatening me with this, abusing me with that. Yeah, not helping me, being whatever, hyperactive, and just calling me down and accusing me of this, and right? That's what they want.
Is it on?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. No, he's trying to control me. I'm telling him you need to prepare for the day.
Yeah, they're trying to control me too.
When I go blind, yada, yada. He's saying, oh, well, we need to do it now, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, and then I told him I brought my camera. Next thing you know, he's going off on me like a freaking rocket, blah, blah, blah.
Well, technically you didn't tell him you brought it. You just brought it out.
No, I told him I brought my camera, and then I went and started I pulled it out.
Oh,
but I don't plan on recording inside there. Like, I don't. Like, it's not like I can go up to
Jesus, this pain's big.
If it's an open casket, I don't plan on going up there with my cell phone. But I bet you keep an eye. Let me know if people out there and they're recording with your.
I'm sure somebody recorded. Somebody recorded something. They have their memories.
Doesn't matter.
There's a lot of videos.
Huh?
If you just go on YouTube and just type in.
Yeah. A lot of videos, people at funerals, all kinds of different kinds of ways people do funerals, right? Some of those videos can be 4 hours long. You want to go to a 4-hour YouTube video with a funeral? I'm sure you'll find one. Oh, wow.
Funerals. People record funerals all the time. Oh, well, when you did it with Sierra, it was your own kid.
Especially biker funerals, like when bikers lose their families, they go for it's called a motorcycle group ride out.
Oh, yeah, look, cars all over. All for Mr. Gill.
What's just two?
Huh?
What's just...
No, there's no two funerals in here. Show the building. This is where they have their funerals.
It's a pretty big building.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's your private funeral. So we're going to finish it until I go inside, and I'm going to turn it off.
300 on one side, 200 on the other side. Yeah.
Should I turn it off now?
No, we can just keep going a little bit more.
Do it over there.
Have to go on the inside with it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to record the halls. None of that crap. What for?
To the left.
It's just a tomb. That's all it is. 10,000 feet deep,
Gotta make sure there's
embedded into bedrock,
just trying to
and a whole bunch of
make sure
shit
there's no
covering it up.
Coming around the corner fast.
Yeah.
And we have a high number of homelessness.
Yeah. See? Still talking about that. That's what they don't want. That's what they don't want connected to Mr. Gill, that he stood up for something, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the government's problem. The homeless problem is the government's problem. Yeah. Don't worry about the corruption. Don't worry about the genocide that's going on in Canada that fuels the underground economy when it comes to illegal organ harvesting and targeting of individuals. And don't worry about that. Don't worry about the builder grade freaking products that are being installed into subpar buildings that are going to fall apart within 10 years, become the next generation of slums. Just as long as the immediate individuals that are building these subgrade freaking whatever you want to call these things, doesn't matter if it's a house, condo, freaking townhouse, row housing, whatever, it's all the same because they're using the same kind of builder grade materials on the cheap just because our politicians allow it to happen because they're going for the short-term solution versus the long-term solution. Obviously, they're pandering to certain ethnic groups, Punjabis being one of them, because they do hold the majority of the wealth, so they can get those contracts where they can tear down a whole bunch of houses, throw out a bunch of people out onto the streets, accuse them of this, call them that, accuse them of that. You know what I mean? Stalk them here, pick them off there, whatever. As long as you just keep control of the plantation, and it doesn't matter how you treat the fucking slaves on the freaking boo-boo slaves on the plantation. It's good business. It's good business. Now, and the ones that stand for something, just make sure you got those extra tombs in there that are 10,000 deep, embedded in freaking bedrock. And when you do that, treat it like a freaking, what do you call that? Like Chernobyl, where you have to pour in a whole bunch of cement all around it in order to, so it doesn't leach. Nothing can leach out. Nothing can escape. And keep it buried for 1,000 years. Unless, of course, you want to write a little narrative on it, a little article, and market it, and make a little extra money for yourself. And keep everybody in check through ignorance and by being dumbed down, that is. Tell them only what they need to know, not what they should know. Don't let them think for themselves. Don't let them develop critical thinking skills so they can think outside of the box and start to see things for what they really are, and maybe walk away from what controls them and keeps them not only inept to change, but when you're like dead inside, spiritless. And what little spirit you have is only drawn upon in order to fuel the agenda of the ones controlling the quote-unquote spirits.
With more and more people losing their housing.
Yeah. Is that what they want to silence? That I came in with what maybe Mr. Gill was fighting against ever since I met him? and he just had to do it in his way, and they didn't like it, and they never did like it. And that's why it's so getting to be so ruthless now.
Yeah.
Because he's not here to put the brakes on it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna turn it off now, okay?
Okay. You see?
There, over. Okay, so now, oh my God, what am I doing? Getting myself into more trouble. Oh jeez. Whatever. As if this is going to change anything. It's not going to change anything, people, because we're already on the path of destruction. We've been on the path of destruction for a long, long time. So I don't expect for any of that to turn itself around anytime soon. But I am now going to put this on this computer. I'm going to find the clips for this video, which is on private. It was not deleted off of YouTube. It was put on private. Okay? And I'm going to bring in Mr. Blue Shoes with the African music. Get striked again, copyrighted, striked again because of the African music. Because I know for a fact, if Mr. Gill would have came with me, and he did in spirit, clearly I was there right after the funeral. I didn't go to the temple, but I went where there was a group of people, mainly quote-unquote men, right? And I told them what was going on, and I know for a fact that if Mr. Gill would have walked through the door, regardless of the color of his turban on, it wouldn't have mattered. It just wouldn't have mattered, people. The people that I was associating with that day, that I do associate with from time to time, they would have accepted him. They would have casted no judgment on him. Okay? And they would have befriended him and try and make him feel safe and comfortable within the group that was there at the time, Mr. Blue Shoes and everybody else that was walking around with their shoes. And there would have been an alliance formed. An alliance. There would have been an alliance formed. But you see, Mr. Gill couldn't have done that, though, in the real world, in terms of being alive. Because he would have been expelled from his religion for going outside of the box and trying to connect to somebody that was different than himself when it came to his collective ethnic heritage. So I'm putting those clips in to finish this video. And I'm going to keep talking. Whatever's on my mind. However it unfolds. Right? Until I see otherwise. And then I'll talk about whatever else I may see, if I ever see it. But I don't think I'll ever see it. Because we live in too much of a capitalist society where there's just too many people that put their eggs all into one basket when it comes to wealth building and self-esteem, power, authority. Just, you know, money is the ultimate vessel to corrupt people. Yeah. So, and my life is on the line. My life and my family's life is on the line. And I've already lost several family members to that process. So, I don't think that's what Mr. Gill had me sign up for. No, that's not why I moved in. Outside of to maybe expose it on a grander scale. To expose it on a grander scale. To get people thinking, whether they like it or not, at least they're thinking, right? You know? agitate. I should really put that buzzing of those feet in there. Let's put that there. That's pretty harmless, don't you think? Right? Let's put the Punjabi's feet with their buzzing in there after everybody flooded out of that freaking room and then ran off to the temple. Yeah, they flooded out and ran off all to the temple with Mr. Gill's body. Yeah, and then what did they do? They put him in a freaking tomb 10,000 feet deep, encased around bedrock, and then cemented it over like Chernobyl. So nothing could escape. So that they could control the narrative. Basically. Yeah. Now, you see, if I would have been a story writer that wrote fairy tales and all that kind of stuff, I probably would have been pretty good at it. You know, when it comes to what you call fantasy or whatever. Fiction, I think they call it. Fiction. Yeah. Because, you know, the way I see things, and I compare them to things, isn't necessarily what people like. But then, when you go through the things that I've gone through, lose the things that I've lost, yeah. But if you only want to hear what you want to hear, and then play a victim card after all this time, no, you're not the victims. If you were the ones that were homeless, losing your housing, being gang stalked, and all this other crap, being murdered and having your murders covered up, and then your organs illegally harvested, and yada-de-yada-de-yada, then, yeah, I would say you're the victim, but you're not. So, right? Okay, so this was after they were done doing whatever they were doing on the inside of that room. If that isn't organized, I don't know what is. And then you want to take it to a bigger environment where you can fit 1,000 people in that and get everybody on the same freaking bandwagon, while the one that you're bandwagging on is 10,000 deep, embedded in bedrock with a bunch of cement over it, being treated like a Chernobyl, ready to explode. But you don't want it to explode because you want to control the narrative and control the plantation. Yeah, okay. Go write a fairy tale around that one. There you go. I don't even want to go look for those clips.
Everybody's got shoes on.
Yeah, there's Mr. Blue Shoes. Crime of the century. Everybody's trying to silence your voice, Mr. Blue Shoes. If you're watching, I know every now and then you peek in. But this is how messed up shit is. I come with my landlord in my heart, and look how I'm being treated. And we already know what kind of shit I go through almost every day living in this stupid house, right? Trying to hold down the fort for my family, what's left of it, not including thinking about others around me and their struggles and what they're facing, while the ones that hold all the wealth are putting their heads deep into the sand, acting like they're the victims as they're trying to silence somebody that actually stood for something. So, really, I'm going to take the time to go and get the original video on the clips that are now on my external hard drive, bring them up, and then just clip them into these clips versus recording it off of YouTube. Go for another copyright strike, because I'll get re-copyrighted, and they're not striking me, they're just copywriting me. And some of these songs in this particular video are already blocked in, I think, Belarus. Where are they blocked? Where are these songs blocked? Because Mark Kane said, oh, they're already blocked, Mum. It's already blocked in some countries. They didn't block it because of Mr. Gill. They blocked it because of the videos, the songs. Because what? They're racist. They must be racist. Why else would you block African songs in a basically Caucasian country if you weren't racist? Or your government wasn't racist? That's the only thing I can think of. How do we find this out? Let's just see. Come on, where are you? There we go. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to know what countries these are blocked in. And why would countries block African music of all things? Huh? Some territories, it's called commas. Should tell me where it's blocked. I can't see it. I so have a headache. Video can't be seen in some territories. Either or. I think it was like Belarus or someplace like that in Russia. No. Either or. So everybody's got shoes on.
Red shoes.
Mom, you want to
White shoes. Blue shoes.
You know how black guys are.
This guy's got black and white
This one,
shoes.
good toes.
Got nice toes.
Very nice one.
I got boots on.
Pico.
Music, maestro. We want some music. So everybody's got shoes on. Red shoes.
Mom, you want to
White shoes. Blue shoes.
You know how black guys are.
This guy's got black and white
This one,
shoes.
good toes.
Got nice toes.
Very nice one.
I got boots on.
Pico.
Music, maestro. We want some music.
Now we shine like way I never see. I carry God so I cannot. Steady increase in the commands. Command. Original no be parody. You know be fair for your memory. Whether now winter or summer, I take up no stamina. Living life, see my fire burning bright. Within days I think. So you will day my feet. I know I cannot. So you go find your calm balance. Everything inside my mind daily. Trust me, you can't fool me. Energy don't die. My friend need unconscious. I'm allergic to sorrow. I'm not ready for confusion. And anything I show love. Stability don't go down. Ability no connection. I'm not ready for confusion. Inside life, to make I live my life. Dreams come true. It's not a fight. By the fight, think you know I'm tired. They go. You need to put your body and soul. You don't worry, don't stop on living life. See my fire burning bright. Within days I think. Slowly waiting my tears. I know I allow. We will find their calm balance. Everything inside my mind daily. Trust me, you can't fool me. Energy don't get low. My friend need a caution. I'm allergic to sorrow. I'm not ready for confusion. They're telling me to make I show love. Stability don't go down. Ability no connection. I'm not ready for confusion. Now we shine like we never see. I got the God so I cannot see. Steady increase in the commands. Command. Yeah. Steady increase in the commands. Command.
Make it simple, when anyway, make it joker, don't shit the don't you mind, what's the say? I've been winning, this is what is down. That's for the Lord. See, I know it.
Look at the flies.